If the Mullah regime at IRGC cannot control all their forces, you have to go, right? I mean, that's it. As far as like the issues, there was four events, at least to the best of my understanding. Three of them were three separate drone launches against our carrier group. We shot down each one of those. And the other one was, the Mullah regime's kind of like little tiny speedboats, very much indicative of their swarm attack strategy, trying to swarm and take control of one of our cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, again, I would contend that this illustrates that in many ways, or it would signal that you cannot trust the Mullah regime. Either they cannot control their forces, or they're just playing this game to try and get as much time as possible to cross the asymmetric deterrence threshold to find its possession of ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons. And I'm sure any one of their patron states, so Putin's criminalized counterintelligence, Chinese Communist Party, are trying to leverage that to bleed us out as many of our interceptors and long range strike munitions and stuff as possible. The simple fact is the Mullah regime cannot be trusted and it has to go. Like literally almost every analyst says that, both American, whether it's Israeli, even the other Gulf states say that behind closed doors. They won't say it openly. I mean, the House of Saud doesn't like the Mullah regime, right? The two main players for regional hegemon in the Middle East is the House of Saud and the Mullah regime. You could see points of friction for that, say in Bahrain, which I'm sure you know very well, Armin. Either way, they have to go. Like it just signals to me again, whether it's a probing attack to try and see where things are at, or try to gain leverage by capturing a U.S. cargo ship and holding them hostage, or it's a signal of the IRGC not being able to maintain positive control over all their forces. Again, they need to go. So, and I'm pretty sure, given that we moved our THAAD batteries out of Okinawa to the Middle East, Donald is very much considering they have to go. At least that's what it
Right.
says to me.
Well, two quick points regarding Saudi Arabia. One, it was a big surprise regarding Khalid bin Salman, Mohammed bin Salman's brother, coming out and telling Americans that if you don't attack, these motherfuckers are going to go even more crazy. That was a big shift from Saudi policy regarding. And also, one last point quickly, because I know we want to move to other people. Last point is that a lot of people always say that it's better. Saudis want the Islamic Republic to stay because they don't want to compete with the Islamic with a free and prosperous Iran on tourism, on being in working with Israel and United States, on their oil all of a sudden becoming available in the market for everybody. And I see all of that, but I also think that I mean not maybe the Saudi government, but at least for the Saudi people and business perspective, I think a free Iran is better for the Saudis as well because like this whole region is trying to diversify away from oil and gas, and for that you need investment. And all of these countries around the region, the main reason why all investments is not coming into the region is because of this rogue actor, the Islamic Republic, basically causing so much instability in this region. So I think it's better for like this area. You guys look at Dubai and Qatar and Saudi, and you're like, oh my God, look at all the investments. All of these investments would have even been higher if this whole place was stable. The investment would be flowing from inside Iran to these places as well, if Iran was a free and prosperous country. So I think like what makes sense for the Saudis is that logically they shouldn't want something in the middle. Either don't attack, or if you attack, you finish the job. What the Saudis should fear the most is that you attack and you injure, like you basically injure them and you make them mad, and then you go away and you just leave these now more radical Islamic, more crazy Islamic Republic with us to handle. That's what they don't want a middle ground. Either stay out, or if you're gonna go attack, finish the job. That's what would make sense, the most sense for the Saudis, in my opinion, at least. All right, so who's next?
Okay, next is Daniel Dome.
I saw him in a question about that crowd with a tomb when they had a funeral, and like they had one tomb and a lot of people, like the camera showed like a lot of people behind the tomb. Like first question, was that actually in Iran? because I didn't get like I couldn't whether they're from Iran. Yeah, this one.
You're talking about this, right? So a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
turnout for the burial ceremony of one of the fallen heroes of the Iranian Revolution in Desful, Khuzestan province.
Hmm.
All of Iran wants one thing: revenge. So let's watch the video so people know what you're talking about. Look at the crowd size, right? So they're turning the funerals are being, this is quite recent. They're turning the funerals into an act of revolution itself. So I guess I see why you're asking whether this is in Iran, because it doesn't look like it's in Iran, right?
I'm not an expert on how Iran looks, so I just wanted
So
to confirm whether
well,
is
this
that
because
Iranian.
this is in Khuzestan, so not like a lot of people are, when they look at imagery coming from Tehran or Shiraz or Isfahan, they're used to people wearing clothes and lifestyles that are on a higher level and might look
Mhm.
more like what you might see in Western countries. So when you see that, you might think like this doesn't look like Iran. Well, it's because it's in this full, like, so different places in Iran, they wear different clothes and they might have different lifestyles. They might be poorer compared to people living in Upper Tehran, for example. That's why this might not look like, videos that you get from, like, Tehran or Shiraz or Isfahan. Does
They're
that make
also
sense?
different
But yes,
ethnicities. Like
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Khuzestan
see.
is,
I believe they
there's a lot more
Muslim.
Arabs. In Bandar Abbas, there are a lot of black people. Like, a lot of people don't know that there are black Iranians. Like, you go to Bandar Abbas, it's like these are all Afro-Iranians.
And like the other question is like it seems that crowd like this just give them an AK-47. They know what to do with it.
Well, so okay, so this has been a major debate among Iranians regarding should we get armed, shouldn't we get armed? Okay, so the people who say we should get armed, I mean, you can see why they say that, because they just, the Islamic Republic just slaughtered like tens of thousands of them, and they were like, well, if they could do that because we're not armed, and just like, if no, like, how long do we have to wait for somebody to come help us? Just give us some weapons so that we could defend ourselves, right? So that's what other people say who are on the side of arming the Iranian people. People who are against it, they say that's a big mistake, because if the attack happens, the Islamic Republic itself is going to be using, its armed forces are not going to be in uniform, right? So but they're more organized. They can identify each other. You can't identify who's with us and who's with them. But the Islamic Republic, they have their ways to identify who's the Islamic Republic and who's not. So once the Iranian people are armed, they could basically, with their arms, come into the middle of the protesters, and you never know who's who. And they train, they're organized, and they will basically shoot you from inside. And even they could tell you, actually, the person I shot was IRGC. I know, I saw him. Like, how are you going to know? So it's going to get very chaotic. And also, if, for example, the Americans and Israelis eventually get involved with their drones to shoot, to basically support the Iranian people, if both sides are armed and no side is wearing uniform, then they wouldn't even know who they need to be shooting to be helping the protesters. Some people are saying it's going to turn into a chaotic situation where you're not going to be able to easily identify. But also, but I don't even know if we could. Here's a point. Here's another point. This might not even be much of a point in discussing this, because if the Iranian people, how are we going to arm them anyway? Like, are we going to drop it from outside? If we're going to drop it from outside, how are we going to guarantee that the IRGC is not going to get to it first before the Iranian people? Also, Princess of Pahlavi hasn't give a command regarding getting armed or not. So we might want to wait for him to give us a command on that, if that becomes an option. Right now, it's not an option. Another way of getting armed is, maybe we could, like, the storage, like where the IRGC keeps its weapons. Maybe the Iranian people could get access to that at some point in the revolution. But I'm sure right now they're being heavily guarded, so it's like impossible to get them. One thing I always say to Iranians is that the Iranians who want to get armed, nobody's going to be able to stop them if they actually get their hands on arms. Should we get armed? Shouldn't we get armed? I'm pretty sure people who don't want to get armed, they're not going to get armed even if you give them weapons. And the people who want to get armed, if they see a weapon, nothing in the world is going to be able to stop them from picking up a gun and go get revenge against the people who killed their loved ones, right? So I don't even know if we could actually recommend anything to people unless we're Princess of Pahlavi, and last time I checked, we're not. He's the only one that has much an influence over what it changed Iranian people's minds. One thing that I suggested on the Persian, two things I suggested on the Persian channel is that there's an in-between solution, because a lot of people talk about, should we, like, either we shouldn't be arming the Iranian people, or we should just give them everybody that we can a lot of weapons. There's an in-between solution where two in-between solutions, and one is to have just a few people who do get trained, who you can identify for specific missions. Just arm them instead of just arming everybody randomly. Just find specific groups of people who have been told how to use these weapons and then give them weapons for specific missions. That's a solution. Another solution is for the Artesh apparently has been disarmed. So remember how last time we told you, like, where was the Artesh? Why didn't the Artesh come in to protect the people? Apparently, so the leaders of the Artesh are the same as IRGC. So there's no hopes when it comes to the leaders of the Artesh. But the body of the Artesh, that's what we were hoping to come defend the Iranian people. And apparently, the Islamic Republic also considered that to be a potential. So they were, apparently, I'm hearing that they were disarmed. So one thing that we could do at some point in this revolution is to find people from the Artesh who want to basically support the Iranian people and just arm them. Identify who among the Artesh does want to join the people, and they're being trained. They know how to use the weapons, and we could arm them when they need to. But go on, Daniel.
Argument that it's hard to drop weapons into Iran. I don't believe it's hard. Look, the US,
That's not what I said.
no, no,
I
because
didn't say it's
you
hard to
basically,
drop weapons inside Iran. I heard once you drop the weapons in Iran, it's hard to make sure that the IRGC doesn't get to it first.
well, so in this point, like, if you take the electronic warfare and you just blind all those S300, S400, which we all know that it's been done already once. So you can just send messages to, like, I don't know, maybe Pahlavi should somehow send a message. Maybe people that are associated with Pahlavi should send such a message. And just like, we're gonna drop it there and there in such time, and the right people will arrive to the right place. It's the first thing. The
But
other
wait,
thing
no.
is,
So I don't understand. The S300s and S400s are not going to do anything when it comes to stopping IRGC to know that to just go to the place where the weapons are being delivered. S300 and S400 are air defense. It's going to,
yeah,
like,
right, it's an air defense, but
all you have to do is put a whole bunch of people on a truck and just show up in the place that they're going to be handing over the weapons.
yeah, but the air defense systems have radars that even if the system itself can do anything, the radar still
If you send out a message to
provides.
people in Iran where this is going to be the delivery point, IRGC is going to get that message as well. But let's move on.
So here, how you send a message so that only the right people get it.
Okay,
I believe
Jeffrey, I saw you wanted to add some point to this, but keep it very short if you can, because thank you. Because I do want
So
to
I
hear what
think
you
he's saying that you would have people within the pro-Persian resistance diaspora do targeted cyber warfare against things like the air defense, so that you could actually then have an aircraft come in and deliver mass equipment to the people on the ground. The point now that may work. Still, though, Armin's issue is, how do you ensure that it's the people that you want to get the arms get the arms? I will say there's a third option. You can again follow the same approach that Ukraine followed, right? Which is, you can have people outside of Iran that are aligned with Iranian resistance do things like produce their own version of flamingo missiles and then via geolocating those assets, blow them up from outside. That you can very much do. Taking out like artillery, taking out air defense, taking out strategic radar, that can very much be done because Ukraine has shown that it can be done. And it would be very cost effective.
Okay, so next we have a question from the chat. Armin, I was hoping you could elaborate if you know more about Margaret Atwood basing The Handmaid's Tale on the situation that is now finally slowly unraveling in Iran. I live in the same city as the author, so this will help me make the point to Toronto audiences.
Wait, I don't understand the question, Margaret.
The woman who wrote Handmaid's Tale,
Oh,
can you
yes.
elaborate if you know more about that? He'd like to use
I,
that, make the point to people in his city.
honestly, that's all I know. I just know the Handmaid's Tale story was inspired by the situation of women inside Iran. That's basically all I know. I don't have any extra information about that. But yeah, I think that we don't need to refer to that anymore because what we saw happen in Iran was far worse than Handmaid's Tale and the slaughter. So we use like Iran, like Handmaid's Tale was the Islamic Republic before early January. After early January, we're dealing with something far worse than Gilead. Unless I'm mistaken, I didn't see anything where the government there was basically shooting into the crowds of millions of people into the streets, just shooting people indiscriminately. I didn't see that in Gilead. So I think that the best way to make the case against the Islamic Republic is what happened early January. That is actually the most important, that is the most criminal thing that the Islamic Republic has ever done, which is saying a lot because the Islamic Republic has done a lot. Someone's mic is open. Oh, no, it's okay. Let's speak.
Okay. So next we have Payman.
Hello everyone. So I have some notes here. Armin John. Yesterday I sent you in the chat some messages and you asked me to send my email to you and I did it. And today at work, because normally in Sweden we work remotely, but since we have many people from different country, we had some Iranians, and sometimes we have to hide our crying. Unfortunately, it happened today because I was at office and then I saw some Iranians with the red eyes. They came out from bathroom and they were crying as I did. And the achievement that we have during this revolution, actually we had the biggest achievement for Americans from for European countries and also for people from Israel, that we have some people like Hoda and so on. About the Greenland, since I live close to them, they don't trust Denmark. Since they lost their trust, they cannot trust USA, which is normal. But what I think, if US goes there, everything is gonna be okay. And one thing, which is a good thing and also bad thing for me, that
Payman, do you want to say this part in Persian, and then I'll, if that's easier for you, I could trust.
I actually I'm okay with English better because in last 15 years outside of Iran,
Okay.
I'm not okay with Farsi. But my friend, during the revolution, he got a shot on in his hand and also the leg, but he survived. And I got the message yesterday. That's why probably some of you saw me that I was crying. So yeah, about the Armin John regarding the email, if I can help Potito, I will do that.
That
Thank you
would be
so
very
much.
helpful. I just emailed you back. I need you to send me the things that your abilities, right? So email me that, and I'll forward that to Patipto. Okay. So I'll just email
Absolutely.
you. Thank
And
you.
thank you so much, everyone from whole world to stay by Iran. Love you so much.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, Payman. Here, thank you, and thank you for offering your help. Okay.
Next, Susanna.
Hello. Well, I have an ulterior motive, and my ulterior motive is to make Armin laugh, and then I have a serious point. So I'm going to be irreverent for a second. Okay, so it's funny. I've been like obviously giving all my attention to what's happening in Iran lately, but the Epstein files came out recently, or this newest batch or whatever. So I've been absorbing a few things just by, cultural osmosis. And when I was thinking, I was like, this dude met with so many different people. Like, how does he know I'm starting to wonder, like, am I on the list?
His mom on the list.
I know. So it's like, should I start
Really?
checking?
Putin on the list. Sergei Lavrov on the list. Ehud Barak is on the list.
He was like trying me with
Now
Ahmadinejad.
I'm feeling left out.
I was like,
There
do
is
I
a,
need to do a search for my
oh,
name? What's going on here?
I
I,
know why Khamenei hates America. Because Epstein didn't call him to this island.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at this point, it's not that much of a stretch. But on a different note, one thing that I was thinking about yesterday after that girl came in and was talking about her friend who's in a really bad mental health situation was I started doing a bunch of research on that last night, and I found some good resources or suggestions for what to do in that situation. So I'm trying to think of how I could put that in a document to like give suggestions to people, because I'm familiar with this organization called Center for Victims of Torture.
so you
Yeah.
want to give context to people? Let me just do a quick one. So, guys, yesterday, for people who weren't here, there was this woman who was talking about somebody in Iran who was having suicidal thoughts, and she was, because of everything that happened, because of the mass slaughter that the Islamic Republic inflicted upon the Iranian people, and she wanted advice for her friend inside Iran. And this is what Susie is referring to. Okay, go ahead, Susie.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about is if there's a way to make this resource or information more available to people, because what a lot of people don't know is that for people who have survived torture, there's actually secondary traumatic effects that happen to the people around them. This is very common, but not very well understood. Anyway, on this website, I found all these resources for self care of people who are in these situations. And although, many people in our community or what have you, I mean, a lot of people in our community have been literally tortured. But I was like, you know what? Honestly, these tips are really good for anyone. Like, this is a really stressful situation. I was like, I think I need to start doing some of these self care routines that they gave in this list. Um, so I don't know. I was just wanted to put that out there in case anyone's like interested or maybe feels like they need some of that information.
So actually, let me tell you how important this information is, because we just got a report that part of the interrogation method, that there's this 17-year-old girl that just reported to her brother regarding what they're doing to her inside prison. And the woman interrogator told her that allowed the guards to rape her, right? And she was told, like, if you don't say that you're with Mossad, we're going to let the guards have their way with you. This is the woman interrogator. And another thing that they did to her was that, she wouldn't sign because she's supposed to sign that she's from Mossad. Another thing that they did to her is that they had like a noose in the interrogation room. They told her like sign or else we will hang you right here. That she was crying, begging, and because I think they think that if they signed, that would be the end of them, right? So they put the noose around her neck and basically had the chair removed from under her feet, and because thinking this is it, but it wasn't tied, so she fell to the ground. But basically, they make them experience being executed multiple times every time thinking that this is it. So this is they actually have to play that message because the brother was reading it out from her 17-year-old sister inside prison, and a lot of people were confirming that this is also what they went through, similar torture methods. So like I don't know how you recover from that, like when it comes to mentally, if you've gone through that. So these resources would be very much welcome.
Okay, I'm just thinking about how we could distribute it. But yeah. Can you post like PDFs and stuff on the Atheist Republic Telegram?
Yes, for sure.
What if I just, throw this information into a quick translate, put it in a PDF, and you can circulate it? Because I know then it'll start to circulate other places too.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Please.
Susanna, could you send the link to the group on Telegram here in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat here as well. I mean, it's in English.
On the group, the Telegram group, or the group?
No, I just
the
meant this
PDF?
chat.
Oh yeah.
I meant the Telegram group. I didn't know there is one.
Oh yeah,
It's
we
in
have a
Persian.
Telegram
You
group
want
in
it?
Persian.
Well,
Here.
Persian. I wonder.
You want it or no?
I don't know Persian, so
Okay, never mind then.
wouldn't be useful.
Yeah, but I've been thinking about this a lot because so many of my friends are just like gone mentally for good reason. I literally just text them once a day, like, hey, babe, drink some water and stuff like that. Because honestly, at this point, I mean, I know, there's a lot of people that aren't experiencing this literally, but mentally, this is such an extreme experience that I feel like systematizing taking care of yourself as is suggested in this guide is just good advice.
Thank you for that. That would be very helpful.
Okay, last on the list, actually. Can you believe that?
Well, actually, let's remind people then, guys, if you want to raise your hand, there's a smiley icon at the bottom of the screen, and then you could click on it, and then you could go like this and raise your hand, and then you could speak. Oh, there we go. Somebody just used auto.
That was who was last on our list. Go ahead.
Oh, never mind. Okay, go on out. Auto?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear. Hi.
Oh, sorry. I just using phone because the laptop momentarily is off. Thank you very much for doing. One question for you. Would it be possible to make something like website or something where you can provide those information, like for example, when you was talking about torture earlier or about what's going on in Iran, and people can show to friends and it says, but you really should look at it and see what's going on in real, not what you see or not seeing on the media or social media. That was one of the questions. Another was as well.
Say that again. Make a website of what? Sorry, I missed it.
All information regarding what's going on actually in Iran, but from people like you, which verified those information and make sure they are not some information which are incorrect or misleading.
I think the best way right now, the best resource, unfortunately, is like Iran International. I think is the best. They do a decent job checking things.
Okay.
Iran International.
Including these things like these stories from the torture and things like that, which will like just showing what's going on, because I did quite a few friends.
Yeah, Manoto is also a good source.
Thank you.
Go on.
Now you're just showing friends because many people don't really know what's going on, and they don't want to get involved. And I think it's just because a lack of the knowledge about situation, what's going on.
Oh,
Yep.
when it comes to content that will help you convince people or basically have the right narrative, I think following Nufti accounts, that's
Mhm.
that's very helpful. So NUFDI, that's Prince Reza Pahlavi's team. So
Lovely. Thank
following
you.
them, that's a really good source of information as well.
Thank you very much for that. The another things was more or less a little bit respond earlier debate from earlier. Only was listening from recording. In it was in European response and European attitude. In European countries, the problem is, I think, especially in English-speaking countries, Europe is counted as the England, France, and Germany, but it doesn't account lots of other countries. And Europe is very, very diverse, and with their opinion as well. And I can say straight away, there is lots of European countries which doesn't agree with many things, which as well you and other people not agree. And for example, Visegrad 4 countries, they are quite against the lefties and communism and anything like that. So they doesn't like what's going like supporting the leftist side and supporting the extremes like in the west part of the Europe. And as well economically they are different than they constantly growing since 90s, since they managed to get rid of it communism. And probably that is the main reason why their mentality is slightly different on this opinion, because they actually experience this issue themselves, and because of that they doesn't want to have anything similar again. So the mentality is different. And for example, Poland have massive investment in their army, where now land forces are stronger than France, Britain, and Germany combined. Like they have more tanks, they have more artillery, and even including divisions. So it's not exactly like, I must say, it's not not the Europeans are assholes. And as well, including that is something when you mention about what happened post-revolution in the Iran. Again, we have a little bit more experience with that. Iran, because there is lots of culturally advanced and as well lots of people which are highly educated, is easy, but it will not take few years. It take probably a decade, if not more, to just a little bit catching up, because the problem is the whole economy and everything is done to the regime to deal with Russia, China, and certain countries. So they need to completely everything change. And even if you change privatization, and you need to change law to corresponding with that. Because, for example, in Czechoslovakia, when after revolution privatization occur, and many companies go really well after that, but because law wasn't fully changed, even it was partially most of it was prepared, but it wasn't introduced fully, and jurisdiction system wasn't ready for it. It took time, and it was lots of privatization didn't go as well as you expected because of that. So Czechoslovakia was one of the most industrial country, and today is still one of the most industrial country, not just per capita in the world, but in Europe is the most industrial country. Even when Czech Republic, sorry, because even we're so small, and so that is one of the things
That's
which
fine.
and as well those countries, they might not highlight as such, but they supporting countries like Israel or Ukraine. Czech Republic was supporting Ukraine since early 2000s. That was, I don't know, you probably didn't hear, but there was operating FSB in the Czech and blow up some of the storages, because this was supporting after invasion of the Crimea weapons, and they do it in a different way. So it's slightly different when it's general public knowledge, because they operate in different ways.
All right.